never read Anne of Green Gables.
None of it?
None of it. Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hookah With It. Today I am here with my sister. This is Rebecca.
Hello.
And I have wanted to have you on this channel literally since the beginning. I was actually going through my videos from like, I don't know, 3 years ago? How long have I been doing this? I don't know.
Longer than that.
Maybe longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying, like, I need to get Rebecca on.
Yeah.
And it's been all of this time.
Yeah, and I've had ideas, and we've talked about it.
Yeah.
And no, we just
never
do
happened.
it.
Anyway.
I'm
But
here.
Nora is sleeping.
The children are downstairs watching a video.
Hotel Transylvania.
They'll be in here.
For the win.
They'll
And we have
crying.
wine.
Hoda
and...
who is it now? It's
the president's...
can I be Kathy Lee?
Yeah! Oh, what happened to Kathy Lee? We're definitely Kathy Lee if we have wine.
Yeah, no question.
Let's get into it. Okay.
Who's first?
Well, first I need to introduce what we're doing.
Oh.
So, today, we're talking about Canadian literature. We're both Canadian, obviously. We're sisters, so it would be impossible. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're both Canadian. And we both enjoy Canadian literature. You read more Canadian lit than I do.
I believe it's a patriot's duty.
It is a duty. You read the Giller every single year.
Yes, I do.
Very important.
And I've gone back through the years because I only began in 2001, and it was quite a bit longer before.
Yeah.
And so I'm going back through the years, and all I have to read is one of the old Visangis.
I don't even know what that is.
I guess that's not in your pick.
No, I guess I'm not very patriotic either. Oh, that's not good. So today, we're both going to be sharing books. We don't know what each other's books are at all. She has a bag, and I have a bag.
Oh.
And we're going to go one by one. You're not allowed to look. We're going one by one. Beck, do you want to start?
I will start.
Okay. What's your first?
Well, guess what?
What? Handmaid's Tale. No.
No, it's a
not.
Giller.
Oh, it's a Giller. What is that? I've never seen this
That
before.
is the latest Giller. It is Reproduction by Ian Williams.
Oh, what's this about?
It's about reproduction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's... but literally that is kind of the majority of what it's about. It's like it feels like one of those books where you hate all the characters, but you still love the story.
Yeah.
Kind of like Wuthering Heights.
Oh, I hated Wuthering Heights.
But you hate the characters, but you
hated
love
them
the story.
so much.
Okay, you won't want to read this then because you hate... Well, it's not that you hate the characters, it's that you're not at all connected to the characters.
Yeah.
But a couple meets in a hospital room. Both of their their mothers are dying.
No.
One is a wealthy German immigrant. Takes place in Canada. I can't remember, small town, suburbs. And the other is a young black woman from a Caribbean island that goes unnamed through the entire book. And essentially they...
Hold it up. I'll hold it while you're talking.
Yeah. They, they don't fall in love, but they reproduce.
Oh!
And so it follows generations
Of their children.
of
their
what has
children's
happened
children.
because of this uniting. And also there's like an undercurrent of the reproduction of cancer cells. It's so ingeniously written. So he plays with typeface so that as cancer spreads through one of the characters' bodies, you see that their name, their individuality starts to deteriorate. But he shows that through the subtlety of the name changing.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of it's very, very, can you see that?
I don't know if you can see that. It's really playing with structure.
Hugely. And I don't love that, but I loved this.
It worked here.
I loved this.
Ooh.
Yeah, you but you didn't like Wuthering Heights? I don't know.
No, but that doesn't mean I sometimes like books where you don't like the character.
Yeah.
And the storyline is fascinating. Like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Evelyn is not a nice person, but she's fascinating, and the situation is fascinating. So Just because I didn't like Wuthering Heights, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And what time period is it? Does it take place?
So it takes place, so they meet in the 70s.
Okay.
And the kids are of our generation.
Okay.
And then, yes, the reproduction continues on. So it's a generations story.
Yeah.
Which I love generation stories because you get attached to the family. But it's, I think it's worth it. Yeah.
Ooh, that's exciting.
And also what I love about Gillers is they're very representative, you know.
Of Canada.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of the writers are immigrants and women and, like, just the best of our artists.
Yeah.
Who are often immigrant women.
Yes. That's fantastic.
Not surprisingly.
No, it isn't surprising. Okay, my turn. I don't even know what I'm pulling out. Oh, Room.
What? That's not Canadian.
Yeah, Emma Donoghue is Canadian.
No.
Yes, she is.
Okay, I've not read that.
Oh, this is a good one. So, Room is written from the perspective of a child. Now, that doesn't always work. Sometimes an adult writer tries to write from a perspective of a child, and it's like, how is that possible? Like, no kid would think that way. It's very hard to do, but I really liked this. And this is about a young boy who grows up in one room with his mother. And in reality, she was taken, like, kidnapped, essentially, by this man. And he rapes her, and she has a child by this man, and this little boy has only known this room. And it's about their days and her trying to protect him from his father and trying to escape as well, because she knows that there's life beyond this room, but he doesn't.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It's fascinating and really scary. And Emma Donoghue writes very random, like, her stories are very different from one another. I've only read one other one from her. It was about, like, I think it was Wonder or The Wonder, and about a little girl who goes without eating for days and days and days and weeks, and there's a nurse watching her not eat, like, figuring out, are you really not eating, or are you lying and somehow sneaking food? And, you know, and that's like a historical fiction book in Ireland, and then you get this, and she's very interesting. I think she's a great author.
I like settings that take place in one location because you have to be a master of character.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be a master of setting, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that's...
Well, and it's amazing how much can happen in one room. You know, like, you'd think that plot wouldn't be a huge point, but it's enormous. So you're welcome to board this.
Thank you. I'll trade you.
All right. All right, it's your turn. I need to have more wine while I'm talking.
All right. I don't know what order to do these in.
It doesn't matter. Just pull them out.
Okay, here's where we're going to have an overlap.
I didn't have that. You know why? I've never read Anne of Green Gables.
None of it?
None of it. None. I have it on my shelves because this year, my third shelf there, it's all books that were BookTubers' favorites of 2019.
Yes.
And Anne of Green Gables is on it, and I'm reading it for middle grade March.
Oh, yes.
Which is coming up very soon.
Oh, you must. It's just, I mean, you know, Canadian landscape.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed one of the series.
But it could have been any of the series.
It could have been any, but she's just such I've read the majority of them, and maybe not even in order, but, you know, she's
Anne.
Montgomery, and she's Anne, and what I love about it is even as she's getting to this, you know, sort of, I don't love this illustrator personally, but even as she's getting to this age at this point in the series, she is still enamored of magic and landscape.
What is Anne of Green Gables about, in case some people don't know?
Oh.
Yeah. Now she's going to sell you.
It's about an orphan child who comes to live with a brother and sister who had hoped to adopt a boy to help with farm work, and how she just takes over the town, takes over the island, takes over their lives, and becomes the heart of PEI. And it just, I mean, may I read a little?
Yes! Oh, that's nice. I never do that on here.
So you just get sucked in. So the visit to Echo Lodge was not the least pleasant of many pleasant holiday outings. Anne and Diana, her best friend, went back to it by the old way of the beech woods, carrying a lunch basket with them. Echo Lodge, which had been closed ever since Miss Lavender's wedding, was briefly thrown open to the wind and sunshine once more, and firelight glimmered again in the little rooms. The perfume of Miss Lavender's rose bowl still filled the air. It was hardly possible to believe that Miss Lavender would not come tripping in presently, with her brown eyes a star with welcome, and that Charlotta the Fourth, blue of bow and wide of smile, would not pop through the door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's home.
Yeah, it is home. Well, we both grew up watching the miniseries on CBC, right? Like it was a Canadian miniseries, and now there's the miniseries on Netflix. I haven't watched it. Have you?
So good.
It's good?
So good. So
I'm
political.
terrified of watching it.
You mean the N with an E?
Yeah, with the new one on Netflix.
Super.
Okay, I'll watch it, but I'm terrified.
But highly politicized version. Like,
Oh.
what I like about the books is that, and about the CBC one, is it's very much about the magic of nature and her imagination and all of that good stuff. But there's a lot of, they brought in residential schools into the N with an E version. Yes, and the Micmac population out in PEI. It's super well done.
That's great.
I watch it with my daughter.
Oh, that's good. Okay, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to put down my glass of wine.
Which is my turn to pick it up.
Yes, okay, and my turn is Come Thou Tortoise.
I have read that.
Yeah, I've made you read this probably.
That's Canadian.
I
think that's what I'm amazed by, is the number of books that you don't realize are Canadian treasures.
And then they are. I know, it's true. So, Come Thou Tortoise is very hard to explain, and I feel like I try to sell it on this channel all the time, and I feel like I do a terrible job of it. But
it's in your opener.
It is. Yeah,
Yes.
it's true. And so this follows Audrey, and it's not clear if she has a mental disability or not, but I think she does. And we follow her when she's just found out that her father is in a coma because he's been knocked in the head with a Christmas tree. And like it's fallen off some track, and so it's funny, but also she is, trying to fly back home to visit her father in the hospital. And, it's about her relationship with her father and her relationship with her uncle, Toby, and also the pet tortoise, Winifred, that she leaves behind, who is a character in and of her own right. So I feel like if you liked Lily and the Octopus, which I've also talked about a lot on this channel, you would most likely like this. Also, if you liked Eleanor Oliphant, is completely fine. This is another good one. It's so hard to sell because it's such a weird story.
The other one that it reminds me of is Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
I haven't read that.
Similar kind of the autistic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she is, but
it's never said what she is experiencing at all.
But there's an element of genius to her.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that.
And there's a mystery kind of element that she enforces on the situation that doesn't really have a mystery. I don't know if it had one or not. It's so good. It's something that I want to reread, but I'm terrified to reread because I don't want it to lose its magic and that memory that I had of it. So, okay. All right. It's your turn.
All right.
My foot is asleep.
I just had the same moment. Oh, gosh. Well, now, okay, then I'll pull out something kind of similar-ish. Pilgrim by Timothy Findley. One of Canada's most respected and prolific writers. Sounds all serious and whatnot, but really, this beautiful book is about a man who believes he's been living over and over and over. He cannot die. He's a pilgrim through time. And he, at the time that we come to meet him in the novel, he's being committed to a mental facility.
Ooh.
Where the primary doctor on the scene is Carl Jung.
Oh!
Yeah. So they get into dreams and they follow him back through his lives, if they so existed. They're trying to figure out if he's crazy or if he actually had these lives. And so one of the lives that he's lived involved Leonardo da Vinci, who apparently is this abusive, homosexual predator, all while being a genius. It's just an incredible story.
I think I've seen this, like, at Value Village and whatever, and I've just walked by it and never even picked it up to read the back, and now that sounds like something that I must read.
So good.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and I feel like you never, and that's what I love about a lot of Canadian literatures, you never feel like you're given full easy answers to anything. You know, the respect for you as a reader is always there, I find, in Canadian literature. It well, maybe not always, but usually very much there. They don't want to spell it out for you. They expect you to be a reader who doesn't like easy answers, which...
Oh, that's great.
It's a tough read intellectually, but you go through it like super
this is
fast.
like, it's literary fiction, historical fiction meets literary fiction.
Meets fantasy, kind of, in a way, because he's living multiple lives.
P.S. Have you read Life After Life yet?
Oh, no.
I got that for her.
I know.
And, I mean...
It's looking at me.
It's not Canadian.
I know.
But it's really good.
It looks at me on the shelf.
It looks
calls
at
my
her.
name. But
And
I will.
force you to read it one day.
I will read it.
Okay, it's my turn. Okay, I have the Book of Negroes here. Have you read this? It's really good. It's emotional because it's about slavery. And we follow a young girl, Aminata, who is a slave in the South. And she eventually moves to Canada. She lives all over the place, and we meet her when she's an old woman living in England. And she is being asked by abolitionists to tell her story. And so she tells her story, and she basically survives so much of slavery because she's able to help women give birth.
Oh, yes.
And so she's thought of as useful because of that. And it's about her adventures and her strength and her resilience. This is a book about resilience, and he's a beautiful writer. Lawrence Hill is really good. I was really disappointed with the miniseries. I tried to watch it, and I stopped because I was going to ruin my experience.
And when you said Aminata, I was like, oh, I have watched that.
Yeah.
Yes, and I loved Cuba Gooding Jr. in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
okay.
But it's a hard what I don't.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be a more difficult read.
It is a hard read. It's very hard. There's especially I think in this book there's a scene on a slave ship, and that is probably the hardest one, and especially since I've had a child. I think I would have a harder time with it. I read this when I was going through infertility, and it hit me really, really hard, but I think now it would be even more hard to read, and it's at the beginning of the book. So that said, it's such an important piece of history and such an important piece of Canadian history.
Yes.
A lot of people ended up here. A lot of Black people.
Part of it takes place in the Maritimes.
Yes. I think it takes place in Nova Scotia. Yeah. So good. So
Gotta
recommend. Yes.
What was that one that you lent me years ago where it takes place on a slave ship and the wood
of the
ship even as a personality of its own?
Feeding the Ghosts.
Yeah,
that one was rough.
That was so hard.
That's basically, that whole book is like that chapter in here. Like, that whole book is so hard, but really good.
Gotta read it.
Not Canadian.
No, sorry.
Not Canadian.
But
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. You get all of the recommendations here. What have we got next?
Okay. You knew I was going to have to do...
What is it?
Some Atwood.
The Heart Goes
Last.
I ended up getting rid of this.
No, you did not.
Of myself, yeah.
Oh, well, you got to put that back on.
I need to go and buy it.
Because I've been very disappointed with Atwood lately in her... What I feel is a selling out of her science fiction that could have worked as a standalone tale.
You're talking about the Testaments.
I'm talking about the Testaments,
Which
but
I
also
still
even the
haven't
Mad
read.
Adams series. Like,
Oh.
the first...
Yeah. Matt Adams series.
Yeah, what was it called? Hold on, I'm having a moment. Anyway, the first one was brilliant. Would have stood beautifully on its own, and she just had to take it that little bit farther. And I feel like The Testament is a sellout. I was so upset with her.
The Testament is so very much a polarized book. You either love it or you hate it. You either feel like The Handmaid's Tale needed to be left alone.
Yeah.
Or, you know, some people really love it because it's more fast-paced, apparently, than The Handmaid's Tale, which is a slower, very unsettling read. Yeah. I thought it was beautiful just on its own, but I have The Testaments. I still haven't read it. I actually bought it the day it came out, and then it's just been sitting on my shelves, staring at me.
Staring at you, but partly because, for me, it feels like wrong.
Yeah.
It feels wrong. I don't like that she wrote it and sold it after the TV series. That bothered me.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a sellout. But
at the same time, I'm just going to say this. She wrote The Handmaid's Tale at a time when it was necessary for women's rights. It was part of it's literally been a part of feminism. And when you see so many things recurring and being brought up and all of these things in the real world, I partly feel like she thought, okay, what can I do right now?
Yeah.
And I wonder if there was that intention. I mean,
that's highly
right.
likely. Yeah.
It might have been intentionally that way, but at the same time, I mean, there is the TV show, which is huge.
And the time is right for the conversation to happen again. It's just, I don't know.
I know what you mean.
It's a tough one.
This
one stands alone. It's The Heart Goes Last. I remove all of my slipcovers because I just like having my regular books on the shelf. But this one is about a couple living in their car. They are out in the Badlands. There's always like in her post-apocalyptic worlds, there's sort of this Badlands that you can't live in because they're scary and they're being attacked in their car and it's dangerous to get out. There's wild animals and it's crazy. But they come across a suburb that is created so that there's some element of safety, but there's not enough housing. So she is always speaking about current day issues, that the difficulty of housing in Canada is huge right now, especially in urban centers. So they solve this by having couples live in a house. So they get this house, but they only live in it 1 month. And then they trade it out to another couple who lives in it the next month. And while they're away, they're in jail. So it's an off and on through the months. One's in jail, they're in jail for 1 month, and then they live in the house for 1 month. And where we intersect with this character is that the couples, she finds a note from the husband of the other couple who's living in the house. So it's just an incredible...
And it's a love story, right? Like they fall in love somehow?
Kind of. Well, it's certainly... there's certainly infidelity involved.
Okay.
And, oh my God, there's all sorts of crazy stuff. Sex robots and...
weird.
It's just the craziest...
Margaret Atwood is weird sometimes. Like, I think people mostly think of her with The Handmaid's Tale, and that's weird. But, like, the Matt Adams series is like, what is happening? And she's very capable of a lot of, what in the world is happening here? Like, yeah. Anyway, she's interesting with her sci-fi. That's for sure.
I love her sci-fi. It's just, she's amazing. And I like that she can write something and hopefully not do a sequel of it.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Well, I don't think that one's getting a sequel. Like, it's not very well known.
Didn't make enough money.
No, probably not. Okay, I've got Station 11.
Why have I not heard this?
You've never heard of this book?
No.
Ooh. Everyone on BookTube right now is very excited for you because this was like a BookTube darling 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
It's a post-apocalyptic book. Yeah, kind of. So it follows a world in which fever has spread. Is it fever or some sort of illness has spread and killed the majority of the world? And we follow a traveling group. There's musicians, there are actors in this group, and they're going from settlement to settlement and doing plays and performing. for these people. And sometimes they're going to places that are, you know, it's like their one hope when they have these people come, and then they go to places that are really dangerous. And you go back and forwards in time where you follow people who are performing King Lear on stage, and then you flash forward and you follow this troupe, and it's very beautifully written. You have to read this.
Like a kind of like a gypsy type of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They exist by, like, you know, hoping that people will give them food when they're traveling, and a lot of characters. Really, really good writing.
Yeah.
You would love this.
I will borrow that.
I think you would love this. Yeah.
I will borrow it.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Okay.
Thank you. Who is it by? Emily St. John
Mandel. She just came out with a new one, I think in February, but I can't remember what it's called now.
Is it going to be a tough read with the virus going on right now in the world?
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe wait a little bit.
Till everyone's well.
Yes. Oh, God.
Scary times.
Yeah, it is. What's your last one?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Right? Is it the last one?
The last one.
It's the last one.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
This is the first...
Oh, I knew that this was going to be on it. I knew it.
Because it lived in your house for...
And I never read it.
It sat on her shelf. She went to give it away.
No, I didn't go to give it away.
No, you said, "Oh, I'm going through my books," didn't you?
Yes.
I'm going through my books and I'm clearing out my shelves. And my book, The Polished Hoe, was on her
Oh, was it in there? I'm so sorry.
I think so. But anyway.
I bought my own copy to read myself.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's over here somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful read. A lot of it is you feel it in your heart for years. It's one of those reads.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And honestly, if I try to reconstruct what it's about, it will be difficult because Austen Clarke, this was actually one of the first Canadian novels that I read purposefully as wanting to read a Canadian piece of fiction. It's like a detective novel, and you know how I love me some Sherlock Holmes. It's a detective novel kind of turned on its head. So the power of the detective is put in the hands of this old black woman who lives on a plantation. There's been a murder, and the murder weapon was the polished hoe, I believe. And we discover that she is sort of telling her story. You know, how people who would have lived in that kind of a world on a plantation would have very little power and very little opportunity to tell her story. So she's making her statement about this murder, and it's her opportunity to tell her life story. Mm-hmm. And so you think she's just sort of taking you down this road. But what ends up happening is, I believe she's sort of bringing the detectives either closer to, they can't tell you, either closer to the answer to the murder or farther away from to protect. So it's just one of those lovely, a Canadian, once again, taking literary tropes and a certain genre and flipping it around. I just thought it was brilliantly written. And then I met him, and I was very nervous to meet him, and he signed my book. And it was a moment of realizing that Canadian writers are just people. Yeah.
Well, I think
you kind of put them up on
like
this
all
pedestal.
Authors are people, other than Margaret Atwood. She's just kind of a goddess.
Yes.
Also,
although I have a friend who took her master class.
Oh.
And she was just totally normal.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe she went on tour for the Testaments right after her husband died.
Oh yeah.
That, like, very soon after, days.
Yeah.
She was on tour promoting her book, and I was just like, how are you physically standing? Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he
you're
was
right.
in literature too.
Yes, he was. I don't remember who he was. That's terrible.
No, that's just, yeah.
But it's true. I feel like authors are generally more laid back than you'd think in your head, because their stuff impacts you so much.
I see what you pulled out of the
My
bag.
last book recommendation
So good.
is Margaret Atwood. You knew that there was going to be lots of Atwood. I was surprised neither of us talked about The Handmaid's Tale in the end.
No.
I picked it because I was like, I don't want to choose in case she chooses. So this is Alias Grace, and this is, I think, well, it's historical fiction. I don't know if she's written a lot of historical fiction. I haven't read everything by Austen.
But she's up there with Austen.
Yes, she is.
So,
yes.
yeah.
It's true. So this is based on a true story about Grace, I forget her last name, Marks. And she is accused of having killed her master and mistress, basically. She's worked for these people and they've died in a very violent way, and she goes to jail for it. And she's actually working in a house during the day. She works at this house, and everyone is kind of she's almost objectified because she's a murderess, which is not nearly as terrifying, but she's kind of a mystery to all of the people who live in the house and work in the house. And a doctor, like a psychotherapist, I guess, is trying to basically get the story out of her of what really happened on that fateful day.
And it reminds me so much of Polished Hoe in that way, where the narrator is aware of themselves as narrating a story that is super important, but taking liberties. And also what I like about Grace Marks is she's kind of asks herself regularly, well, what would the doctor want me to say right now?
She's trying to manipulate the situation a little bit because, well, she's in jail, basically, so...
Yeah.
And also, she's been objectified to the point, like, she talks a lot about the newspapers and what the newspapers have said about her. And so she's trying to, I think, own her story, probably in whatever way she could, and maybe that's with just this one person.
Yes.
Who is listening intently on what she has to say,
yes.
but also has a very probably idea of what he thinks of her as well. And
I love creative narration. And where you're aware also that she's not just narrating to the doctor, she's narrating to the population who the doctor's going to have to inform a board, right? About whether or not he recommends for her to be released or not, or I can't remember.
I think so.
And so, so she's telling her story to the doctor, to the, that fourth wall or the third wall, or what is it that keeps being broken down, where she's also telling the story to us. And we can't tell if we believe her or not.
Yeah, I love that. I love an unreliable narrative that now thriller authors are trying to play with, but you can't, I don't know. Thriller authors try, and then she succeeds.
Yes.
I love thrillers.
Coming back to, Wuthering Heights type of period, where that was sort of a very... that was what made the Bronte sisters so incredible, was they played with that idea of narration and authorship. And can you rely
on the narrator? Yeah, I know. And then it continued. Daphne du Maurier, My Cousin Rachel.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't read.
Oh, God. Yeah, I have that. So those are all of our recommendations for Canadian Lit. Let us know in the comments below. A, are you finally happy to meet Rebecca?
Not after I tore Atwood apart.
No, you didn't. You loved her. No.
I do.
And also, if you have any recommendations for Canadian literature, I would love to know in the comments below, so leave that. And if you liked this video, it helps my channel. Subscribe if you haven't. Something like 30% of you haven't. Hello. Let's hang out. And I'll chat with you soon. Hope this is not the last time, right?
No, we have to do a whole children's lit thing too, right?
Children's lit. Would you like to see that? That would be fun.
Could be fun.
That would be fun. We could do that for middle grade merch at some point. Anyway, now we need to talk off camera. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys. That was all. And we're done.
Oh, but I'm supposed to look there.
You're supposed to look there.
All right, let's do it again.